Yep, this is Smokem, serious music, original cats enjoy every moment, and I'm your host, MC Black Widow. And I want to talk about Jaguar Wright versus Mary J. Blige. Shout out to Storm Monroe, because I did listen to the interview he did with her, and she went into more detail of her issues with Mary J. Blige. Now, at first, when she came out talking about Mary J. Blige, this is Jaguar now, it did sound like she was bitter and almost hating on Mary J. Blige. But in this interview, she went into more detail, of her reasons why she doesn't like Mary J. Blige, or the reason why she's putting her on blast. One of the things that Jaguar did say, that Mary J. Blige cannot sing, and I totally agree with that. Let me tell you something. I used to be in the music industry, and I used to hang out with a lot of producers, engineers, other artists, especially the engineers and other producers and people that's in the background. The people that's more or less in the studios, and they would say the same thing. They said that Mary J. Blige cannot sing. Right? She doesn't sing the words. She screeches the words. She screams the words. She may have a tone, but she's not on the same vocal tone as someone like Mariah Carey or Whitney Houston or Aretha Franklin or even Beyonce. She's not even those categories. So when Jaguar says that, she's not lying. So let me tell you a story that was told to me. Right. If you were around during the 90s, people could probably confirm this story, because this is a true story that I'm about to tell. Now, I didn't go to the concert, right, but my friend did, and he told me what happened when he was there. In the 90s, I can't remember if it was 92 or 93, or it was in the early part of the 90s, right? At that particular time, Jodeci was really popular. It was very, very popular at the time. I kind of got into Jodeci a little bit late, but they were the in group at the time. They had come to London and did a show at the Hammersmith Odeon in Hammersmith. Everybody in London knows where that place is, right? It's one of the top places you go to do shows in, especially if you're an R&B group. And this was the first time I think they were there in London performing. And so you had Jodeci was the top group, and Mary J. Blige was the next one up. The next artist was going to be blow up. Right? They came there. I don't know if it was just Jodeci or Mary J. Blige, but like I said, my friend just told me about these two when they were performing. And what happened is that Mary J. Blige was singing her song. I don't remember what song they said that she was singing, but I know a London crowd. Even though I'm living in New York now, from London, but I live in New York. But growing up in London and go to concerts and watching people perform, I know how London crowd is. They said that she was singing one song. I can't remember what song she was singing, but she was struggling with the song. Struggling, they said, right? He said to me that she was struggling with the song, really and truly struggling. And the crowd was starting to kind of they were starting to boo, right? So wait a minute, because if your voice don't sound better than the studio version of yourself, then right, they're going to boo, and they started to boo. But KC from Jodeci came out and saved her. He came and harmonized and did his thing and made the song sound way better. Right, because at that time, like I said, Jodeci was very popular, and for KC to come out and sing, he actually brought up the performance, right? So when he came on stage, my friend told me everybody was screaming when he came on. But he basically saved the song. When the song was over now, Mary J. Blige turned round and said to the crowd, "Fuck London. I don't know what my friend said. He said that all of a sudden, all you saw was bottles, cans, tomatoes, potatoes, onions, eggs being thrown at the stage, thrown at Mary J. Blige. So these are stories that don't tell you what happened in Europe when these artists fuck up on their performances. This is what happens, right? I got stories to tell about that. But she got bottled and she got booed. After you put on a terrible performance and you got saved by an artist who's actually quite popular, and you turned around and said, fuck London. Mary J. Blige never, ever, ever performed in London again for years after that. She might have done interviews and stuff, but she never performed until years and years and years after. And when she became a real popular big star, by this point now, Jodeci had kind of fallen off now. That's when she went back to London maybe a good 10 years after that. But she had a whole catalogue now of songs. But I remember she said, my friend told me that she said, fuck London, and she never came back again for years after that. So that is a true story. So when you hear Jaguar saying that Mary J. Blige and her sister were fussing and complaining about her singing, and she was singing the notes with on the Unplugged TV show with Jay-Z, and they were complaining because she sounded way better than they did, than she did. That is that from what Jaguar is saying, I totally believe her, because a lot of people say that Mary J. Blige cannot really sing. And so when you see, Jaguar saying that, she's not hating. Because if I'm telling you that story, I didn't go to the concert, but my friend did, and he told me what happened, what was there. And I know many people who was at that concert can confirm that. So please don't hate on Jaguar for telling the truth. Because a lot of things that Jaguar is saying, I've heard those things before. I personally have heard those things before, years ago. About Puffy, about Biggie leaving the label, about Mary J. Blige and how she's carrying on and her attitude. That is definitely true. When Jaguar talks about Mary's attitude, how she's behind the scenes, that is definitely not a lie. Because when she would do interviews and stuff, she was very nasty to the interviewer. She would roll up late. She wanted to give one-word answers. And of course, at that particular time, when she was dating KC, everyone wanted to know. It was public knowledge. They wanted her to talk about it, and she was very nasty about it. So when it came to press and stuff, nobody wanted to interview her. Nobody wanted to deal with her. She was always late. She was nasty. Nobody really wanted to deal with her. And when it comes to reviewing her music now, no one wants to touch it, because all they remember is their experience with her, and her name was going around the industry that she was nasty. So they had to media train her. So when Jaguar talks about that, she's absolutely right. They had to media train her. What you see is the training that she got. How to answer questions. How to answer questions without answering them. You know what I mean? How to be nice about How to be nice about not wanting to answer a question without offending anybody. They taught her all that. That was all taught. That was definitely taught, because that was a thing that was going around. I knew journalists who wanted to go interview her, and they said how nasty she was. I can remember they set her up in an interview. She was on this TV show, this UK show. For life of me, I can't remember, but it was a big music show. And they, once again, they are, it might be in the same time as no, it wasn't. It may be the same time as when they were in London to do that concert, and they were asking her about Casey and her relationship with him, and she said that they were getting engaged. They were engaged. She said that they were engaged to get married and so on and so forth, and then and then because like I said, these people know what Mary J. Blige was like, so you know how nasty she was. She was really belligerent and very nasty. So that's what she said. And then all of a sudden now, right, they cut to an interview asking KC about Mary J. Blige and asked the same question. So yeah, KC, are you going to be getting married to Mary J. Blige? And Casey says no. we're not engaged. We're not engaged. You know, we're not getting married. He said that, and then he said you see the camera pan back to Mary J. Blige just to get her reaction, and she was pissed off, man. they set her up because they don't really like her. They set her up because she was nasty to the staff and everybody else. So they set her up. Let me tell you something. When it comes to the British press, they don't mess with them because they will fuck you over big time. She was pissed off, man, when she saw that. They asked her, she said one thing and he said the opposite thing, and it made her look stupid. So don't have a go at Jaguar with their experiences with Mary J. Blige because she knows that, right? And it's kind of interesting how there wasn't many female R&B singers on the MCA label, right? If you notice, and it was almost like only Mary J. Blige was on there, and I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did because of all the 90s artists, she's the only one that's still around, right? So when Jaguar has her stories about Mary J. Blige, I totally believe them. I totally believe them. Like she said, what you see here today, she may have calmed down today. Mary J. Blige might be a bit different today because she's a little bit older now, but you know, when they say that she's nasty and this and that, she chat about people and she's this and that, I totally believe that. So shout out to Jaguar Wright. I look forward to hearing more of these industry stories, and if it's, you know, if I've heard the same thing, I'm gonna let you guys know, right? So Megan.